This is episode 4, right?
I gotta
Sure.
check that.
I want
I
to
put
pretend,
it.
or
I put
pretend
episode
like I
5
don't
in my
know.
thing. Let me check.
I think it's
This
4
is episode.
It's definitely it's gotta be 4.
because we went
This is episode.
first
5.
one.
This is episode 5.
Episode 5.
All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Tournament Committee podcast. Back with the boys after probably over a month layoff in between episodes.
Little impromptu hiatus.
Yeah, well, we should probably tell everybody what's going on, why it was a month. I mean, we recorded the last one before Christmas. Obviously, Christmas, things get hectic. Everyone's kind of all over the place. Right after Christmas, I took off to Dominican for a week for a little vacation. Blake took off to San Francisco where were you gone for like 3 weeks, Blake?
Yeah, that wasn't so much of a
weeks.
vacation though. I was still working over there.
Yeah, I was still working, but you were in San Francisco with your lovely girlfriend.
Thank you.
And then right after I was in Dominican, I took off to Dubai like a couple days later. And then right when I got back from Dubai, Shazzy took off to Dominican for a little vacation. So we've kind of been all over the place. It's been hard to record, especially with a 9-hour time change in Dubai. It just nothing ever really lined up. But we're back now, ready to roll. We got a great interview with Colin Bykowski today, or as Blake likes to call him, Bykowski.
It was just a question. I just asked if maybe from his Polish roots, if it was Bykowski or Bykowski.
No, it was. We were almost an hour with Colin, and very, very good interview. A lot of good insights for players and parents, honestly, too. So excited to get you to that, and we're going to talk schedule and purses and a few other things. So we want to just actually, before we jump into it, how was the last month for you guys?
I was gonna say, I thought we were supposed to all talk. You just kind of did an intro. It was like, hey, let's go to the interview.
I didn't say go to the interview. I said we got a good interview.
We do got a good interview.
So Blake, how was Christmas? How was Christmas?
No,
and how was San Francisco?
We're gonna do a Christmas episode on February 5th.
Yeah.
Christmas was fun.
Sorry, go ahead, Blake. I interrupted.
No, Christmas was good. San Francisco was good. It's definitely a lighter time. It was weird not talking to you guys that much we still talked as much, but Ty and I were literally 12 hours apart from each other at one point, so we talked for like a window of like an hour a day, and that was like a good like 10 days. So that was a weird break. That wasn't really a break, but no, it's been a good off season. We just got back from the Toronto Golf and Travel Show where we reunited all three of us together for a weekend away at the International Center in Mississauga. Guys, how was the Toronto Golf Show for you? That was a lot of fun. Very tiring, but so fun to see everyone.
Yeah, my legs are still recovering. I do not like that.
Yeah.
Standing on concrete for 10 hours a day is not good on the old legs, that's for sure.
Yeah. You speak for yourself, boys. I had no issues.
Yeah, sure. It's not like you stole a chair from a certain booth, but
yeah,
we do got to give a shout out to the Montera guys.
Yeah, the Montera guys. I somehow was able to steal their chair, and somehow gaslight RJ into convincing him that I did not steal his chair when it was quite obvious whose chair it was. But
all right, he spent the whole time in our booth anyway, sitting on it. So
yeah, sure, that was just his way of having an excuse to come over there.
Yeah, RJ, Alistair, and Dino are the best. Great dinner with them on Friday night and Saturday night. Always look forward to seeing those guys every year.
Oh yeah,
it's a Super Bowl week,
Super Bowl week. Shaz, what about you? How was Dominican?
It's good, man. It's nice to get out of here. Got a little sunburnt and recovered already, so we're all good to go.
Who'd you go?
You left at the perfect time.
Yeah, I literally got there like the day of the cold front, and then came back right when it ended. It was fantastic timing. Yeah. Every single Canadian there was like, "Can you believe what timing we have?" Like, yep.
Yeah, no kidding.
The worst part about the golf show for me, I know we just moved on, but this made me remind me of it when Shazzy brought up Dominican, was every Islanders shirt and hat he saw, which was a weird amount for a Toronto golf show.
3 of them, baby. Yep.
Islanders fan.
No, it was Go Isles, baby. Yeah.
Go Isles, baby.
Yeah.
We got to stop the Islanders talk with the Leafs situation.
I was beefing a 6-year-old kid wearing a Rangers hat, and then I realized, okay, maybe I'm taking it a little too far. The dad kind of looked at me side-eye, like, well, he's wearing a Rangers hat, so he's It's fair game.
Yeah.
Also got into it with a Quebecer in Punta Cana about the Islanders, so that was fun.
You're a psychopath.
A little bit, yeah.
We're all a little psycho.
Yeah. All right, boys. Good little catch up. We released a schedule in that month break that we haven't talked about yet.
That's actually false. Our last pod episode we put out was the schedule that we put out.
Right. Sorry, it was so long ago.
Open registration since then.
Yeah, open registration. And we added a couple courses. We still have one TBD on there, which is our Atlantic event, which hopefully we'll announce in the next week or so. I'm just finalizing things with the golf course there. But the biggest news is the Tour Championship that's going to be at TPC Toronto, October, what is it, 16 to 18, I think?
Yeah,
that is correct.
October 6th, man, that was good mental acuity there. Yep. October 16 to 18, it is, kind of invite only, qualification only, whatever you call it. If you won last year, if you won this year, you'll have an invite to that event. We're playing the Heathlands Golf Course there. Talking to TPC, they're obviously excited to host. And there's a lot of cool extracurricular things that we're going to be doing with that event outside of just the actual playing of the golf that, we'll announce as we finalize things over the next couple months here. But that event's going to be awesome. And, something that hopefully we can get a lot of players from across the country that are, former JPT champions that are WAGR ranked, that we can get a good power for that event, have a really good tournament at one of the nicest golf courses in the country. That might be my favorite event on the schedule this year.
It's hard.
Yeah, TPC is gonna be awesome. Yeah.
And even when we said in our last episode, when we were going through the details, we all couldn't talk about this one, and we all kind of alluded to the fact that this was going to be a lot of everyone's favorite on the schedule. Couldn't be excited to go to TBC. Couldn't be more excited to go back to TPC actually. No, it's very exciting times, and excited to finally be able to talk about it without having to tease it every time.
Yeah.
Not that the TPC staff listens to this, but we got to start the campaign of get us in a villa while we're there. Get us in one of those nice little homes, nice and cozy for a week.
That would be nice. Yeah.
That'd be a step up from the Motel 8s that we usually stay in.
Okay, let's relax there. The Howard Johnson, at least, bro.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's a step up from the 5-star hotel on our standards.
We haven't ran a tournament in Caledon in so long that they've built like so many new hotels in like Orangeville and
not just the Best Western.
Yeah, it's not just the Best Western or the Hojo. There's a lot.
Or the Athletes Institute.
Yeah. There's a couple more options now. All those. Yeah, there's some good memories of the Best Western, that's for sure. There was a snake in Shawzy's bed the one year.
Yeah, there was a snake in my bed. Yeah, I was got hit in the head because of that.
Yeah, inside joke. But the schedule, it looks good. We kind of touched on a lot of things last time. We have the BioSteel Championship returning to Tarandawa this year. We have a lot of things that we're going to be announcing with regards to that event, and honestly, just the season-long sponsorship that BioSteel has. With us this year, we're doing a few things differently. Players are still going to have BioSteel at every event, but there's a couple things that we'll wait to announce until the official announcement's out. But BioSteel has just been awesome to work with. Taryn and Dan and their team have just been so incredible, and they're one of the companies that really values youth sports, grassroots sports, and having them on board with us. We're just so fortunate. So a huge thank you to them. And, everyone's favorite sports drink is going to be back on the JPT tour this year. So
unlimited BioSteel once again.
Yeah. New flavors too.
I think one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was kind of changing. Sorry, I was going to say one event we got to highlight is Salvaggio Dentistry being back. Get your chance to win your name on a tooth.
Yeah.
Tooth trophy, best trophy we had all year.
Back at Spring Lakes. Like, what were you going to say?
Too. I'm excited to see that guy again. That guy's a legend.
He's the
best. He's trying to poach you again, so.
Yeah, we're actually in continuous conversations about there.
What were you going to say though?
Get anyone to, I told so many people at the golf show this week, and I was like, "You guys hiring? I could send in my 2 weeks right now." it landed about 50% of the time with people.
You get offered jobs left, right, and center.
Unfortunately, you're in for the long haul, buddy. Sorry.
Fortunately, I kind of love you guys, and I couldn't imagine working with anyone else.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. This interview is real
Move into the
good.
interview, or do we have anything more to touch on? Any more?
I think just with the schedule, I mean, we touched on it last time, but the multi-event discount packages, yeah, you're basically, if you register for 5 events, the fifth event's almost free. So, it makes sense if you're going to play, more than 5, you're going to play 3 or 4, you're still getting a discount. If you're playing 2, you're basically breaking even. So, just take a look at that if you're looking to save a little bit of money and play more events with us this year. And registration is open for every event right now. So take a look at the website, and there'll be some more communication going out about that in the next month and 2 months as we lead into the season here.
Yeah.
Nothing to add, eh, boys? Nothing to add to that.
Oh, you crushed that.
You covered it pretty good. I was gonna say registration's going well, so you might want to register fast.
My speaking is good today. Yeah. Enough about me, though. Let's get into the Bykowski interview.
Well,
Great interview.
What an interview we got with Colin Bykowski. Also, if Doug Laurie is listening to this, we apologize for getting him on before you. I know that's going to be an issue at our next time we meet with you. But without further ado, let's go into Colin Bykowski's interview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tournament Committee podcast, and today we have a very special guest. We are talking to Colin Bykowski, a Class A PGA of Canada professional and former touring pro on the PGA Tour of Canada and Australasian Tour. As the founder of CB Golf Academy, Colin has a premier and expert in the mental game and performance coaching for everyone from beginners to U.S. Kids World Champions. He joins us today as a JBT Coach Ambassador to help us bridge the gap between technical skill and mental mastery in the junior golf space. Colin, thanks for joining the Tournament Committee.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. That was good. Not quite as good as Chris's, though. I watched Chris's interview, and that was like a whoa.
I didn't want to make it too much for you. I wanted to. You're a classic guy. I didn't want to keep it cookie cutter.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Colin, how's the off season going out west?
Off season, there is no off season. So out for where we are, indoor academy. So basically, my world switches from outside and on tournaments and traveling to day-to-day hitting balls and fixing swings and checking putting and working on everything else. So winters are actually extremely busy out here.
Unreal.
Yeah, it must be nice to be able to play outside every once in a while still, because I haven't hit a restaurant club in like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I went out and practiced yesterday. I don't play a ton of golf in the winter these days because my schedule doesn't exactly allow for too much golf. But yeah, I mean, we've been very lucky this winter. We haven't had one snowflake the entire season, so course has been open pretty much the whole season. So if you're a mutter, we call ourselves mutter. If you're willing to get out there and get a little wet, you can play golf all year right now.
Man, we're jealous here in Ontario. We were just chatting before we jumped on here that it's been just disgusting in Ontario the last couple of weeks. So we're very jealous of what you guys got going on out west.
Exactly. It's not every year this way, but this year's definitely been a good one. It's so eerie for me because 2010 Olympics was the last winter I remember that it was exactly the same. Like there's no snow on the mountains, 14, 15 degrees yesterday. It's just for February. It's so strange, but we're lucky this year.
Well, it's pretty fitting with the Olympics starting like yesterday, so that's awesome.
Exactly.
Since Blake kind of kept his intro pretty brief, can you give us a little background of how you got into the coaching world and just kind of how like your early career and what brought you to this point?
Absolutely. It's funny. I kind of have two starts to careers in coaching in this world. Back in the early 2000s, I turned professional. I turned professional right around 2003. I finished the PGM program, the golf management program at Camosun College, and was playing college golf out there. Had a blast, finished that program, and then was trying to chase it. So I was at that time chasing the Canadian Tour Monday qualifiers. Went to a couple Q schools and was trying to play. And that at that same period, right around 2004, I was kind of doing both. I was playing, and then I did decide to join the PGA of Canada. So that was my first start into actual coaching. So that was at a golf course called Tawasin Golf and Country Club, which has since changed names, and it was a rebuild to Tawasin Springs now. But that started, yeah, right around 2003 is when I joined the PGA of Canada. And it was just a basic apprentice job, but did a little bit of everything. I was working with juniors right off the bat, juniors, adults, basic coaching. It's funny, I was telling my students yesterday how back then, no cameras, no TrackMans, not even rangefinders. Like, it was like old school back then. So it was pretty good for myself to actually learn how to teach the old school way. Avid book collector, so it was reading books and sharing Hogan's Five Fundamentals and whatever. Jack Nicklaus, Golf My Way, and it was like that's literally how I started my teaching career. Was so like old school grassroots teaching. And then I was still trying to play the whole time. So I was probably about 23 or 24 when I started, and then kept playing the entire time. And I kept improving. So that whole stage from junior golf into college golf into my early professional days, I was working really hard on my game the entire time, and every single year I was still kind of building and building and building. Just it's funny because I still encourage that for all my students to this day, as you never know, as long as you're improving every year, that's all that matters. And then uh, late 2007 is actually, or sorry, yeah, 2005, I had my tour card. I got my tour card at Q School at Thunderbird. I can't remember what they call it now. Royal Ashburn. I think it changed names again. Did it not? Or is it still Royal Ashburn in Ontario?
Still Royal Ashburn.
It's still Royal Ashburn, yeah. So I got my tour card there at Fall Q School, which is kind of a cool story because that one, it's kind of my last kick at the can. I had already gone and played in Australia the year before. The funding had dried up. My parents weren't willing to help me out. Basically, it was kind of all on my own. And I had one really good summer playing all the local events. I won a few pro-ams. Back then, it was Bryn Perry and Phil Jonas were just dominating the local scene. But I was lucky enough to take a couple from them back then, which was huge for me. And, you know, you win a couple pro-ams, and I was teaching full time. I was also I was bartending, teaching, and playing full time, and kind of making money at all three. It was kind of like the magic sauce. And so I remember walking over to the TD Bank. I did a bank draft. I pulled out $2,700 or whatever it was for my Q School entry fee. Paid that all on my own. I think that's the reason I got my card. Was it was literally, okay, Colin, this is time. This is your time. And for some reason, I got through that Q School and then had my card. So then I played the Canadian Tour, PJ, or whatever is equivalent of PJ Tour Americas now. And then halfway through the season, I literally got the yips, full swing yips. So totally chaotic, combination of lots of things, in my opinion. Looking back, definitely financial was one of them. So mental, obviously another one. Physical, just kind of a combination of everything led to literally the yips. So that I just completely packed it in. I quit. I drove home from an event, 20 straight hours from California with my caddy in the car, who was a friend of mine, a younger player from my club, and I put the clubs away for a year. I couldn't even put my hands together. I didn't want to see a club. I didn't watch Golf Channel. I'd be in a restaurant. I'd be like, Golf Channel is on. I'm like, can I sit on the other side? I didn't want to deal with golf for about a good 12-month period at least. So I actually got out of the industry for a kind of a short time window, about 6-7 years. I kind of left the industry completely. Got a real job for a while. Moved up pretty fast in the corporate world. Landed up going up into sales, and then landed up being director of sales by the time I decided that chasing the 9 to 5 wasn't for me. And it was kind of a fluke. I started doing a whole bunch of mental game training back then, and my idea was that I was going to stay. I actually reinstated as an amateur for a couple years, and I was going to stay amateur because you could teach the mental side of the game, and still play tournaments. But I was still. So I gave that a little bit of a go, and then I was like, no. I mean, I played 1 or 2 tournaments as an am, and I was just like, no, like, it's just amateur golf is not for me. So then I got lucky. So I sent a 1 sentence email to a local academy here. And 2 older pros that I knew were running the academy at the time. And I just was kind of like, hey, I'm interested in like maybe coming back and teaching. Can we meet? And they're like, can you come in tomorrow? And then came in the next day. And that was right around 2014, I think, 2014 or 2015. And then they said, why don't you just shadow us for a week and see what we're doing? And I did that, and I was like, wow, the junior golf landscape has drastically changed in the last 5 or 6 years here. So I didn't realize that there was tournaments all the way as young as 6, 7 years old. Like that didn't even exist when I left the industry or when I was a junior. I didn't realize the influx of the community, the Asian community, and how serious they took the game and how busy it got and how fast it got. All of a sudden, there's 2 or 3 junior tours where we just had a local junior tour when I was a junior only a few years back. So basically, after a few days, they're like, man, like we need help. Like this is rocking. This thing is game on. If you want to do it, boom, one email to Darcy Kroll at the PGA Canada, was reinstated automatically. I didn't have to do anything.
Nice.
And I just got right back in it, like dove right back in it. So that's now 11 years later. I've been doing high performance juniors. And yeah, basically kind of got taken by technology and cameras and everything I could, and just educated myself and took every single course, every class, worked under every pro I could to get to the stage that I am today.
That's awesome. Congratulations on everything. I mean, we only hear good things about you from everyone out in BC. So, we're happy to have you involved with us. And I just wanted to touch on one thing that you mentioned there. First of all, the tour life, the grind that you lived through. How was that? Like, I mean, we hear stories all the time about, either former juniors or just guys that we know that are playing on the, Americas or, the old PGA Tour Canada or even the Latino America or the PGA Tour, the Asian Tour. Like, is it as much of a grind as everyone says? Like, can you touch on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. For me, I loved it. I loved it. And the reason I'm doing the job I'm doing today is because it allows me to basically do a mini version of what I was doing. So when I can go to Arizona with a student, or if I can go to LA or San Diego or Florida or Pinehurst, it for me just rekindles the feeling of going, being on the road, and just surrounding yourself by golf. Obviously, I have a wife and a child now, so that's kind of changed things versus when I was in my late 20s. But the actual grind then on myself for me to this day, I mean, I miss it. I would go back to that in a heartbeat. The problem is the biggest issue that I think for many, 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 many players is just the financial side of it, right? The pressure of finances to be able to live that lifestyle. It just doesn't make sense. Like you're a young pro, you're trying to chase your dream. The PGA Tour Americas to Corn Ferry to DP PGA Tour World is just so completely different realms of money and opportunity that that just so many people struggle to just survive, right? So on my end, spending 12 hours at a golf course grinding, no issues. I would go back to that tomorrow if I had the financial means to do it. But I think a lot of people struggle because of the finances. That's just my opinion after seeing it for years.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Right. There's just that extra added pressure. I mean, you kind of touched on it earlier, where you said, you took the last $2,700 or whatever out of your bank account and paid for your Q school, and then that helped you. But then, as you had your status and you're playing through it, like it's just there's so much added pressure supporting yourself with your livelihood through golf. And I don't know if that's something that a lot of people really understand when they're younger. And their parents are paying for everything and they don't really have that pressure. But then once you're older and it's all on you, it's a totally different kind of pressure.
Absolutely. And I caddied on the LPGA Tour event out here a couple years ago, and I noticed it on that tour too. That was very, very surprised because a couple years ago I kind of had this dream where, like, hey, like maybe I should move towards more of a tour coach and maybe spend more time out. Like I thought LPGA Tour was a very good goal or a good avenue or a good kind of just an idea. So I spent some time out there, and I was just like, whoa, like I mean they're in the same boat too. So if you're not a top 20 player on that LPGA Tour, they're all in the identical scenario that I was in. So it's tough to watch from the outside.
Yeah, no kidding. Sorry, boys. I'm just taking the spotlight here, but
Something I wanted to add
my
on.
last.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I
I just had.
passing it on. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You're all good. You're all good.
Something I want to add on was that 12-month break from golf after the swing yips. As someone who's going through something similar right now, what's something that helped you the most get out of that, and what's something that you kind of did like during those 12-month span? What were you thinking of? Like, okay, are you the new career path or what?
Well, of course. I mean, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I literally, when I say I couldn't put my hands together, I didn't even want to do this. I felt like something would come over my body where it was the worst feeling in the world to
Yeah.
even think about putting a golf club in my hands. So I went down the whole mental side rabbit hole. I went like, I own every single mental book on golf that you can possibly buy. And I read every one, and I went to a sports psychologist. My mother-in-law, she wasn't my mother-in-law at the time, but my girlfriend's mom at the time bought me a session with Dr. Saul Miller, who's a very successful mental game coach out of Canada. He's worked with NHL, CFL, PJ Tour players. He actually has a book out on golf that just came out in the last year or two, which is amazing because at the time he barely had any golfers when I met with him. But I did hypnosis therapy, I did sports psychology. I fell down every rabbit hole, and I thought for me it was mental. I thought if the whole world in my thing was, oh, if you have the yips, it's mental. It's mental. It's not mental. So after my experience and the years of doing this, mental is definitely a piece of the puzzle for sure. But 100% looking back, if I were to go back in time, I would have been like, okay, Colin, yes, obviously you got some issues here. There's some mental hiccups and hurdles we got to get working through. But for me, at the end of the day, I think it's more physical. I think it's more the technique than it is the mental. So if you can find the drive to work on the right things and to basically fix the problem, if it's putting yips or chipping yips or swing yips, to me it's more technical than it is mental. And I didn't know that until about 10, 12 years later. I never really conceptualized the why until after. Um, and it made so much more sense when I looked back at it. Now having TrackMan and cameras and all this stuff, because we weren't using any of that when I was playing, right? It was just, oh, it's just got to be mental, like it's in your head. Like no, like my swing was definitely off at the same time, and I could see myself trending in the wrong direction when I look back on it. And then yeah, going forward, if I ever had a player that was truly struggling with that, getting off the tee or chipping yips or putting yips, I would be going straight to, okay, like let's kind of work on more of a rebuild of the technique first, and then the mental will kind of kick in after, right? It's confidence. Like if you have no confidence, you can't do it, right? If you're scared to do something, you can't do it. But if you're feeling a little bit confident, but that happens by doing the right technique, right? It's kind of the mental's after. It's not before, if you guys kind of understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might have already kind of answered this question, but I was gonna ask, like, from your time playing on the pro tour, like, what's one thing you would want to, like, you wish you knew as a junior going into that?
I'm sure everyone says this, and it's just patience. Like, you always think like, oh, it's the next event. You got to make this next cut. You got to make money in this next cut, but you got to take it definitely as a full season, or maybe 2 or 3 seasons if that's what you kind of have your means. A lot of young players can maybe raise a couple $100,000 or whatever, and kind of spread that out over time. So, just realizing that. And this kind of goes very relatable to junior golf as well. So, I played my best golf when I had a full tournament schedule planned in advance, starting in January till the end of the year, right? Golf is totally ebbs and flows, right? So when you're a young pro and you kind of put yourself in pressure, okay, I got to make the first couple of cuts, so I make the shuffle, and so I get into the next events. No, it doesn't work that way, right? It's you got to play a full schedule. You're gonna have good weeks, you're gonna have bad weeks, and you just gotta. That's just golf. Golf is like it's kind of like playing poker, right? And you're sitting on, okay, I got ace king, like yeah, okay, I'm gonna go in on this one, and then you just sit and wait, fold. It's kind of your time, right? So it's golf. Playing tournament golf, I'd say, is very relatable to something like that, where you gotta just stay patient over the long run.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I was growing up, I always thought I had one season I was great, and the next season I couldn't hit a golf ball. So
Yep. That's the
That might
majority
be
of my
mental.
20s right now.
mental might be part of my problem, but yeah.
Yeah.
We just got back. Well, I just got back from Dubai with our 3 players. So it was a cool experience for them. We're going to be interviewing them in the next couple of weeks here, just feedback on everything and explaining the trip. But it's a lot different, obviously, traveling to another country, especially Dubai. That's from Ontario, 13 hours away from BC. 16, 17 hours away. During your time traveling the world and playing in Australia and wherever else you've played, How does exposing the juniors to different types of courses, competition, countries early prepare them for that pro mindset?
Oh man, that's a good question. And I'll use an even simpler one than that is going from Vancouver, Poanum, sometimes Bentgrass to Pinehurst and Florida, and just going straight to Bermuda. I mean, just that as a mini scale is one in itself. When you just talk about the actual playing conditions and type of grass and even the weather you're playing in, right? So if we're going from here, it's funny. We'll go the Future Champions Golf Tour has a World Championship always in July in Palm Desert, right? So you go from 100. I've been there with players. It's been 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're playing tournament golf. Then literally red eye flight to Florida for Under Armour World Championship, and it's in 105 degrees, but with full humidity, right? So exposing yourself to those different types of conditions is invaluable for these kids because they learn pretty early, like, okay, and then you walk over to the chipping green and you drop a ball down and you got a 12-year-old little superstar that can go and shoot 65 with their eyes closed back home, and they go, okay, yeah, hit a little chip up to that, hit a little 10-yard chip up to that pin, flub, hit another, try again, oh, tank over the green, like the grass is so different, right? So the conditions can be just so different from one day to another, just even within North America. So yeah, then when you add in flying to South America or over to Asia for a tournament or over to Europe, I brought students over to the U.S. Kids British Championship and going to play in Scotland, right? So it's really cool that a lot of my families have been able to experience that. And there's just so many factors there. One, dealing with the travel and time change and what that does on your body. And then two, the playing conditions across the world are so different. I mean, BC to Alberta is so different. BC to Ontario, completely different. I mean, I played Canadian juniors and Canadian AMs back east, right? So even to fly as a junior from Vancouver to Toronto in the summertime, I mean, you're going from zero humidity, 22 degrees, to 32 degrees with full humidity. It's just so different to play in those different conditions. And yeah, to have you guys bring students to Dubai, I mean, what an amazing experience that is.
Yeah, no, I mean that's such a good point. And obviously the weather conditions are different everywhere, but even the grass, like at the golf course there. So the first two rounds were on the Faldo course at Emirates Golf Club, which was just straight Bermuda. But then they had on the third round when they made the cut, it was on the same course that the DP World Tour plays on the Magillas course at Emirates, and they had overseeded rye on top of Bermuda, and it was totally different than Faldo. Like, and then we couldn't play a practice round there because nobody was allowed to play a practice round.
Yeah.
And watch the kids like go from just pretty low cut Bermuda on the other golf course to now, if you like, we were looking for golf balls in the rough all day just because it's so thick and it's so easy to lose. But like that's
Yeah.
a perfect example of like you gotta understand, like, A, hit the fairway, and B, like, how do you hit that shot out of that really thick rough that your club's getting caught every time, like you can't pull a wood. Like it's just a learning experience, right? That you have to go through to know how you're going to react to it in the future.
Yeah, it's and those ones as an example, just like I always tell my students, sometimes you got to learn on the fly. Like you by that third hole, you got to kind of adapt, right? And that's just through years and years of experience. You kind of get that. But if you can instill that to the juniors at a young age, realizing like, okay, by the third hole, these greens are pretty darn quick here. We got to adapt on the fly, right? You play a practice on the day before; they're not double cut rolled. You play the next day in the tournament. By the second hole, you run it 10 feet by. Third hole, you run it 5 feet by, right? You got to learn to adapt on the fly. So not only is it from traveling across to that place and getting in your practice rounds, but even day to day in a tournament, those conditions can change so fast.
As three guys who don't really come from the teaching side, when you are traveling, say as you said, the humidity in Bermuda versus the Palm Desert, the dry heat, other than just being aware of it and cautious in the mental aspect of it and preparing as much as you can, are there any like drills for a specific type of conditions like Bermuda or rye or that you have your players do just to literally if they're traveling from two different climates from to each other?
Yeah, like really for me to answer that question simply is the Bermuda's the big one. So instantly I'm almost changing technique immediately on chipping off Bermuda and teaching them how to read greens on Bermuda. So, I mean, Bermuda, it's a gift. It shows you shiny fast, not shiny slow, right? Look at the burnt side of the hole. What side's burnt? What side's not? So it's straightforward after years of doing it. But I'll be completely honest. The first time I took a student to Pinehurst and I was caddying, I was I haven't played down here in a while. It's been about a decade since I've been to Florida, and I mean, I was dumbfounded. I hear the stories from the parents like, "Oh, because we couldn't figure out the speed today. Oh, we couldn't, right?" But so, I mean, I've been lucky enough to been there almost every year the last 10 years that I'm like, I feel like I got it dialed now. And it's like, that was a whole learning curve to learn that. So even before we go, I'm having those conversations because I can't caddy for every kid that's in these tournaments. So I'm like we're literally having sit down conversations. Like, what are we looking for? We're looking for shiny. We're looking for not shiny. We're looking for the burn edges on the hole. And then the chipping, like, um, geez, the one year my student won the U.S. Kids World Championship, the whole focus of that week was chipping and pitching off Bermuda. Like he was killer off the tee for his age group. I knew that his irons were always solid, but I was like, okay. And he had me to help him with the putting. Like a little easier when I can literally line up and be like, okay, this is 5 feet right to left. You got to hit this one a little harder. Let me see your practice swings. That looks good. But he had to chip, right? He had to learn how to hit off that grass. And then we're basically slightly different technique. We're using a lot more sand wedge 56 than he would normally use a 60. We're using the bounce a lot more. Where here we're not using the bounce. We play in Vancouver. It's wet, mucky, soft pretty much all year round. If we're using the bounce, we're using the mud at the same time, so that doesn't necessarily work. So it definitely prepare them, definitely use different technique going into that tournament for sure.
Awesome. Well, now we're going to move on to a more general junior golf and specifically college prep questions. So, Colin, you've coached students from beginner level all the way to becoming U.S. Kids World Champions. Is there like a common X factor or like quality that you see in juniors who reach that elite level at such a young age?
No, absolutely
Not
not.
the answer I was expecting, but yeah.
I just had this conversation literally yesterday with the client's mom, and they're relatively new, and their son's actually very talented and improving very fast, and he was a perfect example where every student, every family is so individually different, even though everyone kind of looks at each other and tries to compare themselves against everybody else. So it's my job to really relate to every single junior player that what you are doing versus what Johnny's doing versus what Michael's doing, no one has the same story. So I've had players that have made it successfully strictly on hard work and work ethic. I'll use myself as an example. I'm a little on the shorter side. I mean, I was an athlete for sure, but definitely didn't hit as far as everyone else. But what I had was work ethic and drive. You couldn't teach that. No one told me to do that. It was easy. I said, Mom, I was very lucky in high school. My high school gym teacher actually let me leave. I had PE class in the afternoon. She'd let me skip PE class if she knew I was at the golf course. And she'd give me my 4 to 5 participation for the day or whatever, as long as I told her I was allowed to go golf. And I was self-driven. I was like, Mom, drive me to the golf course, or I'll ride my bike. And I would go be at that golf course every weekend. I'd be at that golf course from morning till dark. No one told me I had to do that. No one forced me to do that. That's the way I grew up, right? And then I'll have students that maybe not the most talented, maybe not the most athletic, maybe some pretty strict, aggressive parenting, and they've made it. They've made it all the way to the top. Harvard golf scholarship. I got one as an example. So she had talent, she had skill, but she had kind of a little different avenue than I did, right? And then there's ones that are a mix of kind of everything, a little bit of hard work, a little bit of effort. So there is no real secret sauce, magic sauce, in my opinion. It's not just, oh, you got to work hard, you're going to make it. And no, it's not just the talented ones are the best. I've kind of seen everything, so it's kind of like it's kind of made it better on one end, where I can't be like, oh no, this kid doesn't have talent, because I've been shocked more than I've not been on students where I was like, that I kind of mentally wrote off maybe meeting them the first couple times and then seeing where they are at a year later, versus other ones that might be bigger, stronger, athletic, being like, oh, this guy's a shoe-in to be good, and then they just kind of never really make it work. So yeah, there is no magic sauce there. You kind of need everything.
Really good answer. I was not expecting that, but that's great.
I think we also kind of see a little bit of that on our end, where like there's some players where 1 year you're going into it, and it's like they're not having the greatest year, and the next year they show up and they win 3 of your events. Like, where did that come from? Like, I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just you guys know Doug Laurie. I was just actually on a phone call with Doug today, and it's exactly what we were just talking about. Was like literally, you just never know. Like one of my players, I'm making her play up a little bit more stuff this year. That and I literally said to him, like, you just don't know. It could be 1 or 2 events, and all of a sudden they get it, or it could be 1 or 2 events of real struggle, but you don't know until you're in that environment. And some kids thrive, some kids chase it, some kids get scared away, but sometimes you just don't know.
I was going to go on, like a big part of the junior golf landscape now, especially with the age divisions we do with the older divisions, is college golf and college golf scholarships. How do you help like your players manage the stress of like being watched by scouts, but also like kind of just staying present in the moment of like you're still 15 playing in a junior golf tournament here?
Yeah, I mean that's a very valid question because I got a bunch right now going through that stage. It's been a wild journey the last couple of years trying to guide my players, and this was all kind of new for me. I didn't usually have that many in that age bracket for such a long period of time, and now I've had some go through the whole graduation process into some college golf or into not playing college golf but just going to school. So it's yeah, I mean, the college scouts thing, that one just came up at Christmas time with my players actually. And watching was just go be yourself. I mean, the more I've learned, the more I've talked to coaches. One of my best friends is a Division 1 coach now, and her daughter I taught online, and she's her daughter's playing Division 1 for another school right now. So I've just got so much more knowledge about what the coaches are looking for, and they're just looking for you to be yourself, to act like yourself, to play honestly. And if you go and shoot 80, it's not the end of the world, right? It's how you react to it, how your behavior is. It's actually not that difficult. But the families and the players put so much pressure on themselves that it's a wild it's an interesting world that I'm going through right now every day.
I really like that answer
I think
because we've talked to a lot of coaches about that, and so many people have given that answer, but so many people don't know. Like so many players don't understand that it's really more so how you act out off the course. Like they could see every score you post, whether it's on any tour. Like if they're there to watch you, they're probably more focused on how you act off the course and how you react, even if you have a bad day. We've heard of countless of people who have had scouts watch them when they've had a horrendous day, but they handled it properly, came back, shot like a good score the next day, boom, they still have a scholarship. Like I really like that answer because it's something that a lot of players don't really know.
Yeah, and I just since we got this platform, it's just you got to realize you're going in to be a part of a team. Golf is the most individual sport on the planet, but you could be the best player in the world, but if you have zero personality and zero ability to work with others, whether it's a coach, a teammate, or anybody else, that coach doesn't want you. Like you got to be there to be a part of a team, and that goes exactly to what you just said, Blake. Because if you go and shoot 80 one day, guess what? Your score doesn't count. But you know what? You go and shoot 70 the next day. Guess what? Your score counts, and that counts for the team, not just for yourself individually, right? No coach is out there signing players to be like, I hope my student wins or I hope my player wins the individual championship this year. No, they want to win the team championship. That's the number one priority. If the individual championship comes, they're celebrating that too. But that's definitely not why they're signing a player.
Is there a professional or professionals on any men's or women's tour that you tell your juniors to look up to in terms of their mental game and how they handle themselves on and off the course?
Um, Interesting question. So no one comes to mind directly from strictly a mental game perspective. Um, yeah, I've never actually been asked that question. I've never actually even thought of that question. I mean, Tiger, there's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
That's the one that comes to my mind. What's amazing is you see all these great players and they play with so much passion, right? Like a John Rahm or a Rory or these guys. So it's like they kind of break the mold for that perfect stoic, kind of stay even keeled. Don't get too up. Don't get too down. When they're in the heat of the moment, they are fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When they hit a bad shot, they might get a little frustrated. There might be a little bit of anger come out, right? So it ultimately, we're always constantly working on our mental side and our emotions and staying calm in that tournament environment. But at the end of the day, the best players in the world sometimes aren't the best examples because they're kind of roller coastery and moving all over the place as well. So yeah, I don't have a specific player in mind to answer that question.
No, that was a great answer nonetheless, though. So thank you.
To kind of build off of Blake's question, and Blake mentioned it briefly earlier, I have some issues with the mental game on the course at times. What's like the biggest mistake you see, like juniors, not just necessarily juniors, just any golfer, from like going from like the driving range? I leave the driving range, I'm gonna have the greatest day of my life here, and then you walk on the first tee and one shot goes bad and things go to hell. Like, what's the biggest mental mistake you see a lot of people making going from like the range to the course?
Well, I was just a couple things. There's two things there. First of all, I'm going to touch base on, like, for my tournament players and the warm up in the driving range. I say this to every single player, every single tournament, every single time I'm at an event. The warm up before a round of golf, your warm up before a round of golf has zero relationship to that round of golf. I've had great warm ups and shot a million. I've had great warm ups and shot the best rounds of my life. I've had absolutely terrible warm ups and gone and shot the best rounds of my life. So that through my own experience was like, okay, I'm just there to warm up. I'm nervous. I'm feeling a little angsty. I'm not really feeling great about life. Might have to go to the washroom. I need some more water. Like it's not, that warm up day has nothing to do with how you tee up. When you tee off that first shot, and it's just getting through that first shot is always another big step. Then it's just game on. So that's the first big step, is realizing that this is not your warm up that day, is not you practicing on the range and working on your driver that day, or I'm really working on my wedges before this round. It's just a warm up. That's it. It's an hour. I tell my students 1 hour. That's what I like. I don't want them 2 hours there, 3 hours before. Get there an hour before max, warm up, and go. And then the second thing to that is what I always, it's kind of my website I don't own. I always call it packitin.com. I'm like, nothing drives me more insane than seeing my students kind of give up by the third or fourth hole, and you can just see it in their emotions and their attitudes, and the shoulders are sunk down, and the kind of give up mentality that happens so times. You guys see it on the golf course, I'm sure, all the time at these junior events, right? Is it's 18 holes. It's 18 holes. And you got to get through that 18-hole day. So we've all had terrible front nines and played great on the back. We've all had great front nines and played terrible on the back. So it's a two-way street, right? So what happens is you have 2 or 3 bad holes, and the majority of the junior players, they just kind of, they can't keep their emotions, they can't keep themselves in check, and then they kind of let it slip a little bit more than they should. Where the better players don't let that happen. Just get through that 18-hole round, then you wake up and you do another 18-hole round the next day.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is so valuable for people to understand, and it's the beauty of golf, is like you could start 4 or 5 over through 3 holes, and then you could go on a run of 6 birdies, and all of a sudden you're back, and you just never know what's going to come the next hole, right?
Yeah, I'm old.
Yeah.
Like I'm really old. So when Tiger won his first Masters and he shot 41 or 42, that front 9 at Augusta, I was watching that live being like, oh my God, Tiger's absolutely falling apart right now. Then he goes and shoots 32 or whatever on the back, and he goes and wins, shoots 15 under for the week and waxes the field. But I remember that event vividly, and that would be a perfect example of, he wasn't letting it be over, and that's how he won his first Masters.
Were you thinking when you were watching, like, of course I came the one round Tiger Woods shoots a 42 at the Masters?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I wasn't there live, but I was watching it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was watching it live on TV, being like, "Oh my God!" Like the whole world's all about Tiger, and he's shooting a million. I think he was playing with Faldo that day too, and it was just like, yeah, it was just a mess. And then he, whacked the field.
I have a feeling that every time we have a coach on here and we ask the question about biggest mistake, that it's just going to be repeated describing me as a junior golfer. That's twice now. You just described my junior golf career. Like, yeah, thanks, guys. No wonder I didn't make it.
Yeah. Don't worry, Shaz. I'm in that boat too.
I played tournaments, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I got a question about schedule planning for your players and just juniors in general. So when you're going through the process, and you said you were kind of doing it this morning with some players, when you're planning those schedules, what's the biggest things you consider when choosing which events to play?
Yeah, so again, it's obviously player based as well. But if I'm going to use an average, let's say a 14-year-old player, someone kind of in that middle junior age bracket, where I mean, in my world, the majors are still the majors, and that's what conversations we've had outside of this call. But like a U Swing Junior World Championship, or if they're a little younger, like a U.S. Kids World Championship or a Future Champions World Championship. It's like there's majors for the younger age brackets that are very, very important in my world for just sort of a goal for my students to try and achieve. Right, they're kind of the upper echelon majors of golf for the younger kids, and then that middle age bracket, it could be, so what would be the biggest goal for a 14-year-old would probably be making a USGA junior championship, right? So a US junior or maybe a USAM. And then what's below that? Canadian junior, right? BC junior, BC provincial am. So kind of the big events surround, like start the schedule is kind of like, okay, when are kind of these, and next gen, like Golf Canada next gen events would be would be another ones. And then in terms of kind of our Canadian junior events, right? Then it's positioning. Okay, which ones are going to be the biggest opportunity for, say, ranking points, JGS, world ranking points. That would be kind of the next ones on the umbrella. And then other than that, then it's kind of filling in between, right? We want a schedule where we're staying active and keeping busy, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, like it's just more picking events that make sense for each individual family. And again, this goes back to something I said earlier in the call, is every family's so different. Every family has only so many means. So it's having to redo that mentality and idea for every single different one of my players. So I don't have a cookie cutter schedule for everybody, because a lot of my families might go back to Asia for the summer, or a lot of families have 2 or 3 kids, so they can't play events every single weekend. So it's finding a balance that works for everyone. But for me, it's what are the majors, what are the goals, like for those big major championships, to get that top experience. And then obviously nationally and provincially are big priorities for if we're trying to get college golf scholarships, and then ranking points being also very, very important in that mix as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's. I mean, we have conversations with parents and players all the time of, especially like the newer players that are newer to competitive golf and trying to figure out where to play. And we're always just honest with them. Like, we're not pushing them to our events. We're like, the provincial championships are important. The next gens are important. The Canadian junior boys and junior girls is important. The AM's important. Like, we just tell them, like, if you can get into these events, get into it. And then if you can't, then, we're always there to, fill in the gaps where needed. And hopefully, we can be of some value to help get you into those big events, whether it's through, WAGR points or exemptions or whatever it may be. So it was a great answer.
Yeah, and what was really cool last year, as an example, there was a player out of BC that played a bunch of your events and cruised up the old WAGR rankings just by playing JPT, and it was really cool to watch, because then that fueled some other people to follow suit this year. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask a question about WAGR quickly. Like, how important is it to have like more events that, like, the more events that have WAGR rankings, the more people like get on the ranking system itself. Like, how much does that just help the junior golf landscape in general? Because you got every single time they teed up in a 3-day event, now there's more players that are ranked by WAGR, and just I don't think everybody fully understands how big WAGR really is unless they're kind of at the top or already ranked by them.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to sort of the college coach and recruiting thing. Now in my world, it's as an individual basis, okay, it's nice to see your points go up, but really it makes it very easy for a college coach to notice you more. If you even have WAGR, if you're even on that list, you're already in that upper echelon player, right? So then it makes it very easy to send an email to a college coach, and they'll know right away. Then they'll be like, okay, like, yeah, this is a real deal player. Just even if you have points, you've made it, basically. Like, and if you're on WAGR, you will have an opportunity to play college golf. Simple as that. There's not even a question on that, right? So the fact that we even have that opportunity in Canada now is huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just to finish that WAGR conversation, because it is an important one, and one that we've been trying to figure out how best to explain it to people. But it kind of goes back to what Ryan just said of, what we're doing helps everybody, because the more players are on WAGR, which means that when they go to play the BC Junior, and instead of 6 players on WAGR, there's 10 players on WAGR or 15 players, and all of a sudden that WAGR power shoots up, and then the winners and all those players are accruing points, and they're accruing more points because there's more WAGR ranked players in that field. So like, it's tough to articulate sometimes, but like the 3-day event, having the WAGR points matters for that upper echelon of players so much. And to have it in Canada, where you don't have to travel down to the US and play AJGAs or big US events or international events just to try and get WAGR points, saves parents time and money and energy, right? Which means they can maybe play a few more events in Canada throughout the year.
Absolutely. And what you just said there, hey, instead of shoveling snow tomorrow, you should maybe do a quick little another little chat on that, so you can share that on your guys' website as well. That's all very true. Just being able to explain how that works. Like, a lot of families do not understand, just even to get that first initial step into WAGR, right? AJJ is the same thing. Like, no one ever understands, like, oh, how do I get my AJJ stars and blah, blah, blah. So WAGR is very similar as well. But if you could think about that in the future, maybe try to explain that a little bit better so families can understand that would be very beneficial for all my juniors too.
Colin,
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing I'm writing down from your advice.
Noted.
You're just adding more work to Blake's schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blake's loving this.
This is actually just a productive meeting for me. This isn't a podcast anymore.
We already kind of covered my other question, Blake, in that section, so you can kind of move on.
Awesome. Well, we're just gonna finish it off with some fun questions, or try to be as fun as possible. Okay, this one has 2 parts to it. Question, Colin: when was the last time? Have you been updated your hole-in-one count on your website in a while?
Yeah, I'm stuck there. I just have 6.
Just have 6. Yeah, not too much. Yeah. I mean, some of these guys in this call some of the guys in this call don't even have any, so couldn't be me.
Okay, I got one on the sim, bro. I'm taking that.
Oh, you're counting the sim one? Yeah,
I'm counting it until I get one outside. I'm counting it.
No sim, no par 3s either.
Yeah.
No pitch and putts. It's
Yeah.
all mine were legit, and 1 year I had 3 in a year. That was nice. I got the hat trick in 1 year.
Well,
And then one at my home course, I have 2 on the same hole. I really want to get that 3rd on the same hole. I think if you get the hat trick on the same hole, would be a good one.
Well, I'm glad you said that the virtual golf and par 3s don't count, because Shawzy's been riding with that for years now. And the ones you just described, of all your 6, what's the best story? Was it the first one, or what was it?
The best story one. Oh man, they're all so good. I'd say I got one for sure, and they're all good, but this is a good one. So, Old Tawasin Golf Course, the original Tawasin Golf and Country Club, was a par 65, not a par 3 course. It was a real deal course. It was the weirdest executive length you'd ever seen. So, anyway, first hole, step up on the tee. It's 143 yards. The greens crew guy's cutting the green, and I know the guy well because I work at the golf course. He works at the golf course, and I'm there with my current wife right now. It's only the 2 of us. So he stops, he pulls them over off to the side, and it's a front pin. So I jug it on the first hole. So I'm like, oh, hole-in-one. I'm like, so I go straight to the bar. I go and grab 6 Coronas. I'm like, well, we got to at least play 9 holes now to make it legit, because you got to have at least 9-hole round to make it legit. So I grabbed a bunch of pops and went on the rest of the day. So that was probably my favorite one, was just to ace the first hole of the day.
That's a dream.
Complain with that. Yeah, you can't complain with that.
And what was the final round that you shot there? Like, what did you shoot on that round after those pops that you got?
Oh, that day was like
27
I said, the pops came in, so it probably wasn't the best one. But that course, my best round was 11 under 54. So par 65, I made 11 birdies on that golf course one day.
Wow.
And there was a bunch of eagle holes, but that day was just 11 birdies.
I'm
Just 11 birdies. Just 6 hole-in-ones and just 11 birdies. Get this guy out of here.
That's amazing. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be any of these guys either. So
That's
No.
pre-yips. Pre-yips, though.
yeah, I assume so. Forgot about that. All right, kind of just one last mental game-ish question. If you could play around with one golfer and just start their mental game, I guess this kind of goes back to Blake's question earlier that you didn't really have an answer to, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Who do you think would be or just who would you want to play a round of golf with in general?
I'd have to be Tiger. I mean, for sure. I mean, I would still love to pick his brain. I know there'd be questions I could ask that guy, and he's the only one that has the answers. It seems like even when you see him do those tailor-made ads and whatnot, and Jason Day and Morikawa, and they're all looking at him like, what is he talking about? Like you just see his brains on a whole nother level. So I think a round with Tiger would probably be the one. Fun fact: I named my son Nicholas after Jack because I still believe that Jack is the greatest player of all time. So it's a
Wow.
bit of an interesting one there because I'll take the major record any day.
Maybe we'll have to get a debate going on the socials after you said that. We're gonna get a generational divide.
That's awesome. That's pretty much all we had. You have anything you wanted to touch on before we wrap it up here?
On my end?
Yeah.
Did you guys lose my audio or no?
Nope, we're good.
No? Weird. Kind of glitched out there for a sec. No, I just, last thing I want to say is thank you guys. I mean, watching the creation and us having the chats even before you guys had your first event to watching the whole season last year. I was blown away by the social, what you guys did, and just the interviews with the players and the exposure that you gave. Well, some of my players, as an example, was just so special and so different and so refreshing and so new. I think heading into this season, it's just more momentum going to get better and better, and I'm just so grateful you guys built this amazing tour.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it, and we appreciate all the help that you've been over, not only just the last 2-ish years now, but, the last 6-ish years that we've known you. We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. That was our interview with Colin Bykowski. What an interesting interview, honestly. I didn't know his story at all, and him kind of going through and running through his whole early career and how he got into the junior golf world and his whole touring career was actually very interesting. What did you boys think? I thought it was quite the interview, actually.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'm in the same boat. I didn't realize he was a touring pro for as long as he was, and chasing the dream that a lot of our juniors hope to get to one day. But highlighting the grind that it was and the pressure and everything was cool for me. And then obviously there's a lot of valuable lessons for juniors there as well.
We had so much prep going into this interview, and really everything Colin said just kind of led into all of the different questions, that we even didn't even prepare for, because he had so much knowledge about the game. The thing I was most interested in was his full swing yips, though, and how he battled back from that, and especially near the end and then we got into his 6 hole-in-ones, which was a lot of fun. What was the biggest thing you guys took away from what he said, would you say?
Go ahead, Josh.
Me? Honestly, it always kind of, with the focus that we've had on recently, is the 2 big things that stick out, which is kind of talking about WAGR and then just the college golf. I've said, I think, even after the Dickey interview, how much it's not necessarily about fully your golf game, and kind of just getting that perspective on how important it really is just being like a good person, how much it gets you onto a golf team, and just being able to be a team player. Because especially with golf being so individual, having that perspective from a guy that has players that are currently going through it and have already kind of gone fully through it. I think that's always an interesting perspective to get, because I never even got to the point where a coach would look at me when I was playing junior golf. Like it's a very different world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was when he was talking about, playing on the PGA Tour Canada and, paying for his own Q school, making it through that because he had that extra pressure. But then as the season went on, the pressure started to get to him. And then that's when, maybe the yips came in or whatever. But the one thing I didn't mention in the interview that I wish I did was, that's a small factor of what we've been trying to preach this whole time, that like the money and the purses are awesome. And they're good for kids, they're good for parents. But like the one thing that maybe gets lost in the shuffle is like, if you're, 16 years old and you have, you're coming down 18 and you have a putt to win, $850 or whatever the amount is, that little extra pressure that you wouldn't have been exposed to before what we're trying to do now, hopefully will help you down the line once you're playing, on mini tours or, in Q school, or you're on one of the professional tours and you're trying to make the cut and, get your paycheck for the week. Like you have a little bit of experience that may help you and you may be able to draw back on in your future when you're, out of college and chasing the dream, which I think was very valuable.
Yes, $700 as a junior, as a 16-year-old is $100,000 to me. Like as a 16-year-old, that's all the money in the world.
So 27-year-old, $700 goes quite a far way with me too.
Yeah.
I really liked his perspective on our X Factor question in terms of if he noticed anything in junior golfers that made it to the highest level, whether in junior golf or out of college. And what I really liked what Colin said, and I think it can apply to not only golf but specifically outside, is that everyone's different. Everyone has a different set of circumstances. Everyone has a different game. Everyone he gave examples of how some players are more talented at the game and just don't have the work ethic, but then some people have less talent and then have more work ethic. Literally every player is different, and I really liked how he led that into the scheduling question because it makes sense in terms of scheduling too. What works for everyone, everyone's budget, everyone's game. Do they thrive with a certain type of tournament over the other? I thought that was very interesting, and it kind of followed up with what Chris Dickinson said in a few episodes ago about how it's all about managing expectations in junior golf, and it's really important for coaches and parents and players to all get together and really manage the expectations for the season, performance-wise, tournaments-wise, where you want to go, where you want to be at the end of the season. And I think both those coaches do a great job, and I really liked what Colin said about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great interview with Colin. Can't thank him enough for coming on and chatting with us for about an hour. Now, I mean, the last thing before we wrap this pod up is what we're going to do with the purse for this year. So we'll be announcing all this, I guess, when this podcast comes out tomorrow. But things have changed a little bit on our end, not, amateur status or anything. So we are just to be completely transparent. So the purses are going to be $5,000 a tournament this year, instead of $10,000. So it's $1,250 per division. Obviously not ideal for anybody. There is some reasons behind it. First of all, the main reason is that all the purses and all the money that we give out from expense reimbursements by NCAA bylaws and rules, it has to come from sponsorship. So when we started the tour, we had the sponsorship. Some of the companies that are sponsoring us, honestly, they're behind the scenes. They don't want the attention. They just want to do it based on the goodwill of supporting youth sports. They don't need it for advertising and promotion or anything. And they're, getting hit really hard by the tariffs right now with the U.S. Their actual businesses are, taking a hit. So, we're in talks with them to, figure out like how that they're going to support junior golf still when their own business is hurting. And from our perspective, it's a unique position for us to be in because we totally understand, right? Like that you have to take care of your own business first. So as of right now, we have $100,000 in sponsorship secured. All that sponsorship money that we're getting from our other partners, plus these, big companies that are backing us, is all going into the purses for the rest of the time. So we're not closing the door on bumping the purses back up to $10,000 an event. But right now it's going to be set at $5,000 because we don't want to mess with the amateur status regulations that NCAA has set out where it has to come from sponsorship. Could we do it? Yeah, and hope that nobody gets caught. But then we're playing with players' amateur status, and that's not something that we would ever want to do, because the last thing that we want to do is have a player play with us and then lose their amateur status and not be able to go play college golf. So only top 3 players are going to be getting paid out in each division this year, not top 5. So first place is going to get $700, second place $350, and third place $200. Again, it's not ideal on our end, but it's better to go this route. We're trying to be honest and transparent with all of the players and all the parents and the families. But like we said, the utmost importance to us is protecting the amateur status. So by being honest and doing this, that's what we're doing. If you have any questions, just let us know. We're happy to answer them. There's still going to be a purse, just a little less than it was last year, with the potential to go back up. Hopefully, once all these tariff situations get figured out and a lot of these companies rebound, a lot of people are getting hit hard right now. So it could go up, but there is still a purse, which we're still giving back to junior golf families, which I think is important. So that's kind of where we're at. Anything to add, boys?
I think the biggest thing to really emphasize is, and I know you already have, Ty, but this is not permanent at all. As soon as we're able to, we are going to be lifting these. And as Ty mentioned, just to reiterate, every sponsorship dollar that we get is going to go back into the purses because they have to. Or not, they don't have to go into the purses, but all the purse money has to be from sponsorship. And so when that pot goes up, the purses will go up. And so that's one thing we want to make sure you guys all know.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing, like $100,000 to give away to junior golfers in a season is nothing to scoff at. Like that's still a pretty good number. So I think we're still doing a lot of good in that sense. So
yeah, 100%, right? Like obviously, like I just said, it's not ideal. We wish it was at 200,000, but sometimes external factors, force us to adjust and protect players. So that's all this is. It will go back up in the future. Just we got to be careful right now, just to, like I said, protect the players. And at the end of that, that's what we're trying to do. So don't want to mislead anybody. We're trying to be as honest as possible. And you'll have some e-blasts coming out on Friday, just explaining everything. And like I said, if you have any questions, just let us know. We're always open for a conversation, and we'll be completely honest with you, as we always are.
Yeah, when you listen to this podcast on Friday morning, there will also be a press release in your inboxes and on our socials about explaining everything as well in writing.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Well, that's pretty much everything for this pod, unless you guys got something else to add.
No, sorry to end it on a little bit of a somber note after such a great episode with Mr. Bykowski.
Yeah, Colin was awesome, man. Thanks again for him for coming on with us and chatting. And honestly, if anybody has any feedback or people that they think would be a good interview, just let us know. Drop a comment on the podcast or on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you're listening. We can start getting some guests lined up as the season gets going. We're all together most of the summer and the spring and the fall. So, in-person podcasts are better for us, and we can get some interesting guests on. So, and Doug Lowry, yes, Doug, we will get you on. I promise. I promise.
We got a list of people we already made the promise.
Yeah,
to, so.
Jason Schneider too. He's been asking, so we got a little list going on our end. That
first out west guy. I meant to mention that in the interview, but which is great. First of many, hopefully, on the Tournament Committee podcast.
Yeah, we'll cover the whole country pretty well here, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. We'll have someone from everywhere, that's for sure. Cool. All right, boys. Well, we will be back in a week or two, and go Leafs, go. Go Canada. Go
Canada. All right, we can all agree on that.
Go Canada, go.
Yes.
We can agree on that one.
Team
There we
Canada.
go.
Okay.
We have 2 weeks. We'll agree.
Yeah.
Go Bor Horvat.
Exactly. Go Bo.
Cool. All right, boys.
See you, boys.
Peace.